We think that citizens in this debate refers to the citizens except criminals and children, because criminals cannot go to debate competition, right? And also children are too immature to just judge which side is better. Secondly, we will select like 10 to 1,100 people randomly, but it depends on the scale of tournament. Third of all, we think debate is a sport to persuade audience, not for audience and judges. First of all, we will tell judges that they should judge us equally because that is the meaning of judge, right? So based on this framing, we have two arguments. First, why this debate practical? Why this motion is practical application of debating? We think what the problem right now is threefold. Firstly, some debaters are speaking faster and faster like this. So it costs two things. First, judges are really training. That's why those debaters will make those speech as faster as possible. And secondly, as you speak faster, you can put as much content as possible. That's why many debaters are speaking faster. Secondly, we think that things that are less practical on demand, things are less practical are discussed. For example, animal rights, right? It does not true to in the real world. No one care their life of small fish. They're only taking care of their own lives, right? Yeah. Okay. So thirdly, we think many debaters in many debate competition will make speech time in the short. This is simply because the management problems. For example, in Japanese debate, in a Nihongo debate, I have to make constructing arguments within 3 minutes. Yes. Okay. So fourthly, within the audience are just not confused simply because some debaters are speaking faster. That's why many audience are confusing. So what is compared then? Twofold. Firstly, debaters are likely to make their speech as easier as possible simply because judges are not the well-trained judges, right? But rather those citizens, randomly selected citizens, will do it. Wait a moment, please. Secondly, within the easier discussion, simply because the debate is more easy for average ordinary citizen to understand, more discussions about debate will occur. Simply because audience will be able to understand easier, and audience might have fun from watching debating, right? Before we move on to impact, yes.
Is there any single mechanization that is unique to having to change the judges? Why can we not change things like the judging criteria?
Simply because judges will be selected randomly from their own average ordinary citizens, we think the debaters mind will change, right? Because debaters will consider judges is going to be not well trained judges, but rather average ordinary persons. So what is the impact of them? Twofold. Firstly, debate is really fun. So that's why we think debates should be fun. However, right now, some debaters are just making their speech as fast as possible, and they are forced to make faster speech. That is not real debating, right? Debate is a sports that persuade audience and judges and attract as many people as possible. So right now, the existence of debate is completely different. Secondly, we think we get more attention because audience can understand and have fun. So for example, it will cost them more and more social media attentions and get media attention, for example. I will extend my second argument. So the second argument is increased participations in debate competitions. The problem on the right now is that the debaters made their speech as fast as possible. As I told you, they would like to put their content as much as possible. And secondly, they are restricted by time limits. Secondly, we think that media didn't give attention, for example, in WSDC, not a lot of media are reporting the existence of WSDC simply because those many speakers are really speaking faster, and those speeches makes audience not persuasive. That means since media are profit seekers, they would like to provide as attractive news as possible. So we think the media do not broadcast the existence of debate tournament. So what is comparative then? Twofold. We think because debate will be easy to understand for more and more people, because debaters will make their speech as easier as possible to enough to understand average ordinary citizens. Secondly, we think media will give more attention simply because debate is going to be easy, and this means that the broadcasting company will fund simply because that's why we think that debates will be easy to understand for most people. Media will definitely fund more in order to broadcast the debate in the news, for example. So thirdly, we think the media will broadcast debate more and more because the people, it makes more people to attract in debating, right? Simply because more and more people know debating because more media will broadcast the existence of debates. What is the impact of them? Twofold. Because of the host of the debate tournament will increase their funds, they will be able to hold more larger tournament as possible, so many participants will be able to participate in the tournament. Secondly, we think debating is so fun. I really understand, and judges will definitely understand debate is really fun, right? And even if, like, sometimes you lose, you definitely make good friends, and also even if you win, definitely you can satisfactions. Before we move on, yes?
Would bad judges decrease the amount of fun you get from debate competitions?
Yes, it is but it is symmetric that on their side of the house, some judges are irrational because it's people's are different. People's thoughts is really different from one another. So judges potentially have bias. So we think it is not radical change their side and our side of the house. The impact is simple. We think debate is so fun since we can spread the existing of debate. More and more participants will participate in competitions, and we will be able to have a larger competition compared to before. We think more participants will be able to feel the enjoyment of debates, and they will be able to make good career in the future because they will be able to make good friends, and also they will be able to experience really fantastic experience that HPDU gives me. For all those reasons, we are proud to propose.
I thank the Prime Minister for the remark.
Is there a way to stop
Now,
this?
I would like. What?
Is there a way to stop the buzzing?
Oh.
Turn off the mic. Yeah.
How
How would you speak into his ear?
Howling. So I'd like to welcome the leader of opposition to please deliver the speech within 7 minutes. Here.
Before I begin my speech, I'll say 3, 2, 1, okay? Am I audible? You into the back? I'm the first speaker for opposition side, and my time will start in 3. I told you guys. My time will start in 3, 2, 1. I love debating. Why do I love it? 2 reasons. Because it's so fun, and because I learn from debating. Proposition side diminishes both these things. I'm going to be doing 3 main things in my speech. First, I'll engage to their point. Then I'll give you our framing and characterization. And finally, I'll present to you our argument. On engaging, strategic note about government side. So far, they haven't raised an argument or mechanism that necessitates a judge change. I'll prove why this is bad from my speech. Now, onto my framing and characterization. One major piece on framing. We contest the majority of the framing from government side because they don't have any fiat, given this House believes that motion. Now, onto my characterization. Let me characterize ordinary people for you. Ordinary people like people who are walking down Shibuya, for example. Your average Joe. Who are these people? They have implicit biases, right? They have their own beliefs that they get swayed by. Secondly, they're easily swayed by rhetoric. If I speak really well, even if my content is not good, they will be swayed by that speech. Thirdly, they lack understanding of rules in debate and terminology. When I say clash point, they may not understand what that means, and they may not know that reply can't add new content. And finally, most importantly, they simply don't care. Most average people don't find debating fun. We do though. So now, onto our arguments. We have 2, but first argument, less fun. The thesis of this argument is that having random citizens judge devastates the capacity for debaters to have fun through debate. And notice how through our POI, they explicitly consent to this and they concede to this argument, okay? Now, I have two layers under this argument. Layer one, what makes debate fun versus how government side diminishes this? I have four things to say. A, that debate is fun because the effort pays off. I love the feeling when the fruits of my labor realize, when the judge gets what I'm saying, when the judge agrees, when the judge gives me the win. I love that feeling. But this relies on the capacity of judges to judge properly. Getting well-reasoned decisions is crucial for this point. On government side, as I characterize ordinary citizens to you, they're going to give you fluctuating decisions because they have bias, they're swayed by rhetoric, and they don't have an understanding of the rules. This diminishes this feeling of effort paying off. Mechanism B, improvement. I love the feeling of improving when I'm debating, but this relies on the feedback that I get from the judges. On government side, since, as I characterized to you, ordinary citizens lack care, they don't care about debate, they're bored by our debate somehow. And because they have a lack of knowledge of the rules, they're not going to give you proper feedback, and that diminishes from my feeling of getting improvement when I get proper feedback. Mechanism C, I love friends in debate. I love the community I make through debate, and this crucially includes all the judges. On government side, they assign random citizens every single time. The capacity for you to meet the same judge and make friends with them, build a community around the judges, is significantly diminished, if not zero. It robs from the fun of having a community in debate that includes both judges and debaters. And mechanism D is that I love the feeling of being challenged. Debate is fun to me because I feel challenged when I'm debating a difficult motion like this one. On government side, since the audience is easily swayed by rhetoric, hopefully unlike you guys, this feeling of being challenged is demolished because those ordinary citizens could get easily swayed if I speak really well. Now, the second layer of this argument of less fun is the impact, and this comes in twofold. A, that it diminishes the enjoyment that I get from debating. All the things that I find enjoyable in debate is completely destroyed on their side. And B, that I have lower motivation in debating. When I know the judge won't care, even if I put a lot of effort. When I know that the judge won't give me proper judgment for my effort. It lowers my motivation for debate. Now, my second argument is diminished capacity for learning. The thesis of this argument is that random judges, randomly selected judges from random citizens, diminishes my capacity to learn from debate. All right? I have two layers under this argument. Layer one, why is this true? Because as I told you just now, the characterization of ordinary people, they have biases, they're swayed by rhetoric, they lack understanding of the rules, and they simply don't care. This destroys the point of improvement in debate. Because as I just told you, I improve from debate when I learn from the judges, when the judges give me proper feedback, properly mechanized, properly reasoned decisions, proper feedback. When I get this, that's when I first feel like I've improved in debate, right? And on government side, they simply destroy this because the ordinary citizens do not have proper knowledge, right? And all the reasons that I characterize the ordinary citizens, they cannot give you proper feedback. And therefore, my capacity for learning from feedback from your average Joe in Shibuya goes significantly lower than learning from the feedback that I get from you excellent judges. Purring favor. All right, so to conclude my debate, I told you that this motion specifically robs from the enjoyment I get from debate and from my capacity for learning from debate. And it destroys the purpose of debate. And therefore, we are so proud to oppose this motion. Thank you.
As thank the leader of opposition for the remark. I would like to welcome the member of government. Please deliver the speech within 7 minutes. Here.
I'm audible. Before I start, I just want to say thanks to our Komo, Mr. Ise, and to our wonderful teammates, and to my senpais who came all the way to watch this grand finals, and finally to Mr. Kawano, and also our wonderful opponents. All right. Panel, judges in the status quo are framed as average reasonable person, but they are not. They are too smart, and we want to persuade the general public, which is why we propose. The first thing I want to point out is the problem in the status quo. The problem that we have right now is that debate has become too difficult, and debate has become too exclusionary. When debate is about persuasion, we aim to fix that on our side of the house. So in this debate, opposition will lie to you that good debaters will talk slowly and talk and try to persuade individuals anyway. Firstly, this is not true. Sure, some debaters like Mitsushi Senpai speak slowly and persuasively, but the vast majority of debaters will talk fastly and will try to literally cram a lot of the content in 7-minute amount of time. We tell you that the incentive of debaters is to do this because the average reasonable person or the judges who are really smart can literally understand this, and that they only have certain allocated time, which is why in Japanese debating competitions we see a lot of people who are smart literally talking like machine guns in this debate. But secondly, I would argue that even if some debaters talk slowly, I think that you can see in empirical evidence like Tim Pojik or Matt Kaito, who won worlds that I look up to. Those people speak so fast, and therefore this is why this also incentivizes other debaters to speak faster and talk a lot of content, which is extremely difficult on their side of the house. We aim to change this on our side of the house because when they change, when it is going to be the randomly selected judges uniquely on our side of the house, we change the dynamics in order to persuade the average reasonable person, in order to persuade people who don't understand things like notion of communism or notion of philosophy. You are going to use the easy, not use jargons, but use a lot of intuition pumps, for instance. This is something that we actually need in society, and we don't want debating just to be something that you do for the sake of debating, which is why I propose 3 things in my speech. Firstly, on entertainment. Secondly, in a practical application. Thirdly, on media, and if I have time, on my third argument. Firstly then, on entertainment. The first thing they say is that this is going to be less fun. 1, this is not true. We don't just like debating just because of the feedback or just because of the things like victory or things like results that derive from it. But I like debating because of the inherent activity that we discuss together, that we have discourse. So there are multiple factors that give us pleasure. Also things like community building. Presumably, the fact that I can be friends with Seiji exists on either side of the house. It's unclear to me why the fact that you simply cannot be evaluated correctly is going to be the tipping point for entertainment in this debate. Let's look at independent mechanisms. They say 2 things. 1, you want to persuade the rational judges. 2, feedback. I have a few responses. The first thing I want to point out is that it's unclear to me why these randomly selected citizens are going to care about those kind kind of things will not care about those kind of things on our side of the house. Because note, this is not about the government, this is about the debating tournaments. So presumably, debating tournaments wouldn't have mandate to just simply randomly select people on the street, right? Therefore, this is going to be randomly selected citizens, but it's still going to be volunteers. It's still going to be people who actually want to judge, and therefore I think there is going to be a delta, but it simply cannot assert that this is going to be a random people on the internet. But the second thing I want to point out is that I just want you to note that we can still have feedback and we can still learn a lot of the things from the average reasonable citizens, right? Because I think the thing is, we can still learn, but the things that we will learn, the content that we will learn is going to be different. So things like feedback, things like how you can learn stuff are not going to change on either side of the house. But third of all, I would just argue that you can learn a lot of new things because what they are doing is learning a lot of content. What we are doing is learning things like rhetoric, doing things like a lot of practical stuff, which I think is going to be more important in this debate. Before I move on to the practical application, I'll take a POI.
Fun or learning? Which is more important?
Learning. So practical application then. So the first thing they say is that subconscious biases and terminologies. But I want to flip this and tell you, well, maybe you just shouldn't use terminology. Maybe you just shouldn't use jargons. Like, who freaking cares about these words like classes? Who freaking cares about things like tensions? You only use them in debating, right? What we aim to do is like literally fix the problem and the rhetoric that side opposition gives us in this debate. So the second thing I want to point out is that we are more than happy to change the content as well. I think that like things like discussion on how we should like do things like Marxist revolution in society, like WUDC 2016, it's just not practical enough, right? We want to actually have like a meaningful discussion, and we just don't want debaters to just be debaters. We want debaters to have play an important role in society. This is why we think learning on long term is a more important thing in this debate. The final thing I want to do is I want to weigh our argumentation on media, because I think we all agree, we as an average reasonable person agree that things like debating has educational meanings, right? From debating, we can learn a lot of things. On our side of the house, insofar as media are more incentivized to portray this, and media is going to be more incentivized into having debating within the media force, right? Because it's less things like fast-speaking debaters exist, and that it's going to be more easier for people to actually learn stuff or see debating in the first place. More media is going to be incentivized into having grand finals of this HPDU, for instance, in their TV outlets, which means that this actually increases the accessibility, or that this gets more attention on media, this gets attention on social media, because the more and more people is going to see this activity, and therefore I think more people will opt into debating on our side of the house, and I think this is a winnable impact in this debate. Third argument, why this is good for the randomly selected judges and randomly selected citizens. Two reasons. The first thing I want to point out is that debate has diverse range of topics, things like governmental politics, things about minority rights, things about vulnerable people in society. The second thing I want to point out is that those topics are things that you often don't listen to and often don't learn in school. Because three reasons. One, I think most people aren't that interested in the first place. Secondly, there's diverse amount of topics in debating. Thirdly, I think those topics oftentimes you cannot choose which topic you want to go to. They are randomly allocated and randomly selected. Why is this impactful? This is because this randomly selected citizen will be able to broaden their horizon. They'll be exposed to ideas they otherwise cannot learn in other activities. And I think before I started debating, I wouldn't have known about a lot of things like minority rights, about things like misgendering, or a lot of things like unique struggling that minorities go through. And I think they simply cannot say that we are going to minimize the diverse range of topics, because even if we minimize the impractical things like communism, we at least learn a lot of things that are educational, things like the issues that women go through, which is why we think those randomly selected people will be able to learn educational things, which is an impactful thing in this debate. For all of those reasons, prop.
I thank the member of government for the remark. Now I would like to welcome the member of opposition. Please deliver the speech within 7 minutes. Get here.
I guess Naki did it, so I should do it too. Hi, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you everybody who taught me. Thank you everybody who organized this. Thank you everybody who judges me. And thanks everybody on Gov. All right. I'm going to give you a hard truth about debating here that I don't think anyone wants to hear. The fact is, you debating here is going to have no impact on society. You saying that things should change here isn't going to change anything in society. Natsuki coming up here and telling you why this motion should pass isn't going to make this motion pass. The reality is that the majority of debaters and the majority of debates that occur are hypothetical. None of it is going to have any impact to society. That is why we all prioritize fun, the enjoyment of competitions, the reason why all of you guys are here over anything about learning. Before getting into this argumentation, quickly on their argument, second argument on increased participation as a result of media. 3 things about this. Number 1, their mechanism is still unclear. They prove to you why the media has increased capacity to pick up debate competitions because people speak slower, but they still don't prove the incentive why media will do this. Secondly, their argumentation is inherently premised on debating being fun. If debate is not fun, nobody will participate no matter how much media picks it up. And thirdly, I think proposition utilizes more resources in this debate for the simple, and this is a flip. The reason why is because their framing tells you 100 judges. Really? You're gonna fit 100 judges in here? Then all the audiences, you're gonna have to rent a bigger place. You're gonna have to pay for transportation for the judges. That's the reality on proposition. Costs are higher, amount to for do things like advertisements or improve quality of debating is lower. Okay, let's talk about learning. We give you 2 reasons why learning is hampered on proposition from first speaker. Firstly, the quality of the feedback that you get is significantly demolished at the point in which the judge knows nothing about how to argue. If the judge is a horrible convincer, why should I learn how to convince for them? And secondly, the bar to convincing the judges is far lower. That if I stand here and scream at random citizens and tell them that they should vote for me, they're more likely going to vote for me than Natsuki with no voice today. The implication then is that it's far easier for me to convince judges through rhetoric when it comes to debating. And no matter what they tell you, content comes before rhetoric. That is what debating ought to be. That is the only way they can get effective discourse, which is propositions metric. I think that therefore learning quality is higher in our world. In a second. Let's talk about the other things that come from proposition in regards to learning. They tell you firstly that the majority or all of the judges in this room that are going to judge these competitions for us are going to be volunteers. I dispute this. This motion is not a policy motion. I think it's similar to the rest of their framing. They can't assume this. I think this motion to some extent has to assume feasibility, but I don't think our argument is contingent on it being volunteers. Volunteers are just as dumb. Secondly, on learning, their second thing I said later. Second thing, on learning, they tell you that, well, we're gonna stop learning about complex topics that come up in debating motions, and we're gonna learn more about the effective communication methods, how to convince well. But I dispute the fact that judges can teach you how to convince well in their world as well. That irregardless of the content that you're giving, the fact that nobody can give a lecture like Mitsushi gave yesterday is proof that most judges, the most average individuals in society, are incapable in proving to you how to give better feedback in regards to convincing ability. I said later, man, come on. So, finally, about their weighing on this learning point. They tell you that learning is most important in this debate because it allows debaters to be of an important role in society. That is not how we evaluate how good or what we should do with hobbies. Nobody looks at soccer and says, why are they kicking the ball around? They're not doing anything for society. Nobody looks at baseball and says, well, why don't they just throw the ball at people so we can defeat them faster? That's not the point of how hobbies work. We think that fun comes before learning. Before fun, go. No POI then?
Unfortunately, we live in society full with subconscious biases. We live in society full with not smart people. Why don't you think that learning how to persuade
I'll discuss later. On fun then. We give you 3 mechanisms as to why fun is diminished in their world. We tell you firstly that the hard work you put in, the fact that we debated 23 rounds before we came here in 2 weeks, that all of that is gone at the point in which the judges are, stupid is a bad word, but uneducated at debating. Secondly, the fact that you cannot improve because judges give horrible feedback to you is going to diminish the amount of fun. And thirdly, the fact that you can't make friends with the judges, the fact that I can't go to competitions with the judges in the future, those diminish your capacity to have fun. The two responses we get from proposition are this. They tell you firstly, that this is untrue because Natsuki derives inherent pleasure from discourse. Even assuming that this is true for more people than just Natsuki, I don't think that this is a legitimate response because our argument is nuanced. Our argument caters to the different ways in which people have fun through debating. That each individual is going to have fun through debating in a different way. Some people here may be here for the free food. Some people here may be here because they want to meet some cool debaters. Some people are here because they enjoy discourse, and some people are here because they want to meet their friends. Those are different incentives. We cater to three of them. At best, they cater to inherent discourse pleasure. They have to prove why then this is more important, or there are more people who are impacted by than the other three. Secondly, I think that inherent pleasure from discourse goes to us as well, because the quality of discourse is diminished on proposition at the point in which the debate becomes just purely how fancy can you sound and how many judges can you get to buy what you're saying. I can lie to you, and if you're smart, you will find out I'm lying. But in the majority of cases, average reasonable individuals who know nothing about debating, who know nothing about the motion, who know nothing about how to convince somebody, are going to get convinced by my amazing rhetorical capacity. The conclusion of my speech then is simple. We tell you that fun is important, that fun is a prerequisite for both of their argumentations to stand, that fun is our debate-winning argument, and unless they can prove to you that debaters can have in any way more fun than that can happen here at HPDU, they have to lose this debate. Oppose.
I thank the member of opposition for the remark. Now I would like to welcome the government whip. Please deliver the speech within 7 minutes here.
I cannot understand why debate is being thought that it's too difficult, it's not fun by the majority of the people. I'm really fun and doing satisfied to debate with Makuhari and in this fantastic competition, and we think that victory is important, but it is also important to debate in such a competition, and we also discuss and make friends with other opponents. And we can spread this fun thing to people in the society, and so we are proud to propose. So first of all, I'm going to show you the uniqueness of why we stand on the side government and why the alternatives cannot solve the problems. First, so we say that the incentive of debaters, we say that debaters have high incentive to win in the round, right? So we say that they actually want to persuade the judges, but they want to persuade the judges, and therefore changing the judges or changing the judges to ordinary people will actively have higher incentive for those debaters to express their opinions in an easier way and in a more fun way, using more rhetoric, right? And we say that we say that those incentive to persuade the judges is one criteria that debaters need, but also with the being making friends with other debaters or like being satisfied with debating. So therefore, we say that this we have the uniqueness, right? So even if we concede to the like opposition side, we have like three things to talk about. First of all, learning from like ordinary judges is really important for debaters. We say that those debaters can learn from like different perspectives. For example, they have different jobs. They're not always like from the privileged classes. We say that learning from those people, learning those like thoughts will be benefit the debaters themselves, right? But second of all, if you just don't want to get like those good, if those debaters just want to get good at debating in like structures, or judges are not the only actor that who can teach us, right? Because for example, like Mitsu-san like giving us lecture, or like asking opponent for like feedbacks, or like asking the teachers or asking the teammates for like getting actually good at debating will be an alternative to like actually have fun in debating, right? So even if the feedback of the judges were not beneficial for yourself, if you want feedbacks, if you want to become good at debating, you can get it from other people and the motivation will not decline, right? But third of all, even if all of these were not true, the motivation of debaters will not decline. Because as I told you in my introduction, I'm satisfied to just like participate in this tournament and satisfied to like making speeches in this final in front of you guys, and I'm like satisfied to like make friends with Makohari, right? So here I have one question: which side is better for the debaters themselves? So two main metrics here. First of all, learning. We think that the learning is more important than like having fun for debaters for two metrics. First of all, long term, right? We say that those debating techniques on outside of the house, like giving rhetoric, giving speeches with rhetoric, or like giving speeches with joke, is useful in the future, right? When they get into the society, or like when they when they enter the company or something, we say that it will benefit themselves in the long term when compared to just speaking in so fast like speed, right? But second of all, the extent of the benefit is so big because debaters talking so fast to like easier way, persuading judges in easier way and like making them fun is more like the extent of benefit from this is so bigger on our side of the house because there are subconscious bias when we grow up, as we told you from the previous speaker. We have to persuade those like kind of irrational people when we like get into the society, right? And we say that in our paradigm, we can like those debaters have the capacity to actually persuade those people, and in the current world, we say that this ability is so important for each individual, right? No, thank you. We say their side of the house said that the fun is the prerequisite for like the motivation, right? But we say, as I'm like repeating, we think that victory is only one of the factors of debating to like have motivation in like debating, right? So therefore, it's not the prerequisite. And take like this, we want like judges to take our metric. So finally, the fact that we get more attention benefit that like debate itself on our side of the house, right? We told you from our argument that we can gain more people like buy-in, and we can get more attention in our side of the house. Two metrics. First of all, on scale. Because the debaters, or like debate itself, is being characterized as something too competitive, too academic, too difficult, like somehow resulting to beliefs in the society that debate is actually not fun. Debate is just fighting and like destroying their opponent's cases. But like getting easier to understand on our paradigm, judges having fun or like audiences having fun, and like those will actually those like thoughts will be spread in the social media. Those fun thing will be spread in the social media, like audiences posting their like opinions on the internet, for example. And the fact that like judges don't, and we think that in those cases, like because they have like the social media attention, or like because audiences use the social media, the discourse will be bigger, and therefore the media will actually have an incentive, or like have active incentive to actually like discuss about those debating thing and like actually report them in the news or like have their news on the media, right? For in like TV programs, for example. And we think that this is so important for the debate itself because we can get more fun and we can get more participants, and that will lead to better competition, better conditions in these kind of competitions. Like more participants will lead to a bigger competition, and that will be a huge impact for for the like competition. But we say that we can, on our side of the house, we can spread the fun, like the fun thing of the debate, and this itself is a huge impact as a debater. Thank you.
I thank the government whip for the remark. Now, I would like to welcome the opposition whip. Please deliver the speech within 7 minutes here.
It's hilarious, really. Naki gets so mad about this judge being bad that was why he lost the debate. Presumably, that's why he lost his voice right there. And yet, they have to defend a world in which the quality of judges fall by such a massive scale. It's really funny. I'll be addressing the three main pushes coming from each side. First on learning opportunity, then on opt-in, and finally our argumentation on fun, and why that's the most important thing for you to consider in this debate today. Firstly then, on increased learning opportunity. The premise for their entire argumentation standing is proving two things. One, the uniqueness of this motion to changing the rules, and two, the uniqueness of competitions and practice. Note, the motion reads competitions. Firstly then, on the uniqueness of changing the rules. We tell you that really all of the merits they give you is largely symmetric. In fact, changing the rules is even more efficient. Let me tell you why. When you change the rules, there's massive incentive for the debaters to go along with the change in rules. This means that if HPDU changes the rules to something, all of the debaters who are already interested in debate, who already have motivation in debate, who are wanting to succeed in debate already, will opt in to this change. On the flip, in government paradigm, we've told you that debaters in fact lose motivation when the judging panel level goes down. The implication of this is that we offer much more effective change. When the pre-existing debaters opt into this new model, opt into this new rule, then all of the debaters to follow also opt in. It's really easy. This means that on our side uniquely, where debaters are not demotivated, but in fact have incentive to follow this, we create structural change, we create all of the good things that they raise you in a much more probable way. Second then, are the uniqueness of competitions and practice. We tell you in terms of learning, this is completely symmetrical. Why? Two things. Firstly, it's a lot about mindset. If I think I want to improve rhetoric, then you can do that in your daily practices. You can do that in your school activities. It's all about mindset. If that's what you focus on it. Go ahead. But second, per the reading of the motion, you can practice with anyone. Like literally, go around your school, ask some random Japanese teacher or some like janitor, and then ask them to judge you, right? Do the same thing. There's really no uniqueness to competitions. If you want to do all these things, and if you think it's so important what you get out of this, then do it yourself outside of competitions. On the flip then, we tell you that having fun and all of the merits we gave you under that mechanism are unique to competitions. You don't meet new friends when you're just practicing at your school with your janitor or something. You don't actually talk in front of this, I don't know how big this audience is. You don't get this opportunity, right? All of these things are unique to competitions, and all of the uniquenesses actually support us, not support them. Based on that, we tell you that their argumentation on learning opportunities is severely mitigated, if not flipped. Next then, on their argumentation on increased participation. I think there's two flaws coming from proposition side. First on a strategic flaw, next on a logical flaw. Their strategic flaw is that they raise two things completely contingent on each other. They told you two things. One, people don't opt in right now, and two, there's going to be broadcasting. These things are contingent. If there's increased broadcasting, more people opt in. If not, then people don't opt in. I want to explain more what the logical flaw in their argumentation is. I think the flaw is that they assume debating is interesting to the majority of people. Believe me, it's not. What exactly prevents people from joining? I give you three things that is not what they tell you. First, it's uninteresting for the majority. Really? The majority thinks that debating is more fun than playing Clash Royale on your phone? Second, it isn't broadcasted as much as other sports. Precisely because of the fact that the majority of people will prefer to watch the FIFA World Cup or something, or like really any other TV show, CEO, Downtown, whatever, I don't care. People are much more likely to watch that than debating. Companies, film companies or whatever, have much more incentive to offer non-debating content. But third, we tell you that there's a lack of opportunity fundamentally. Very few schools that I know actually have debating clubs. Very few competitions are open to everyone. These structural reasons for people not joining are not in any way, shape, or form combated on their side of the house. We tell you that their entire argumentation on increased participation also does not stand.
You want?
Yeah, sure.
Even if debate is going to be only rhetoric, why don't you think more and more people will opt into debate simply because they are attracted by rhetoric of debate?
I don't think debate is entirely interesting for the majority. I also don't think that Obama's speech is entirely interesting for the majority. I think still sports, games, all of these things are much more interesting for the majority than a good rhetoric speech. I'm not sure why this is the unique tipping point in someone not interested in debate all of a sudden being interested in debate. In the final minute and a half, I'll reconstruct our argumentation on fun. They give you several responses, right? They tell you that there's going to be feedback in different forms. They tell you, well, Naki and Seiji can still be friends, we can still meet, stuff like that. Okay, I think our second responded to that, but let's take the best case scenario in which everything they've told you so far does stand. We have two unengaged in mechanisms as to why it is a lot more fun on our paradigm. First, your effort pays off. Like Seiji told you, believe it or not, we put in like 20-something practice matches before this round in the week coming up to HPDU. If judges fluctuated, if there was no real confirmed way in which judges judge, all of our practices could become absolutely rendered null. I think that's really not fun. I think that takes out the motivation aspect of it, and it also takes out the success, the fun of winning aspect of it too. Second unengaged in mechanism is about it's going to be more difficult. I get more satisfaction debating against top debaters and trying to convince top judges instead of when I'm trying to convince what's my little sister, my mom. Really, that's not really that satisfying. The really important point of my speech is that in their absolute best case scenario, they take everything that they said, and yet fun still stands. And fun is the prerequisite to everything. If it's not fun, people opt out, people don't debate, none of the good things that happen on their side. Fun is the prerequisite, Our side's more fun, so proud to oppose.
I thank opposition whip for the remark. Now I would like to welcome the leader of opposition reply speech. Please deliver the speech within 4 minutes here.
You guys are having fun. They're having fun. That proves to you that any magical flip gov reply might bring to you is wrong, because you guys are having fun. Here's the thing. You can't have fun when judges don't know anything about how to debate. You can't have fun when you're not improving at debating. You can't have fun if you can't make friends when you're debating. The comparative we give you from our very first speech to our last is that uniquely in a world where random people off of the streets of Japan are judging debates, unknowledgeable people, people who know nothing about the motion, people who know nothing about how to convince somebody, people who know nothing about debating. That is at the point in which nobody can have fun, and the only responses we get from proposition are at best mitigatory, like giving you another reason why some people may be having fun. For the majority of individuals, all of you guys here, who are here to improve, who are here to meet your friends, who are here to show off the skills that you've acquired in the months leading up to this competition. For those people, proposition is going to harm you. Second clash, who allows for more learning? Proposition has two main pushes under how they allow more individuals to learn. Firstly, they tell you that they are going to allow for more individuals to learn about specific ideas through debating. Naki gives you the example of social movements. 3 important notes about this. Number 1, it's still unclear as to why on the comparative, where we're actively going to be debating social minority movements, why you won't learn about social minorities. Secondly, on the flip, you learn more about stuff in our world because you aren't limited to things that the population already knows about. That we can't debate a motion about Somalia because nobody knows about anything in Somalia. That's why nobody in their world is going to learn about Somalia. Thirdly, at best, at their absolute best, where in our world we learn nothing at all in regards to skill, or in regards to acquiring knowledge. That we still have alternative methods. That competitions are unique. HPDU is unique. Me standing here is unique. Compared to that, being able to learn about social movements, minorities, feminism, you can do that anywhere. I think that we would rather trade off this and make sure the fun is preserved. The second note on learning that you get from proposition is they tell you that you're going to learn how to convince somebody, that you're going to learn to talk slow, that Japanese debate is going to move away from their speedy culture. 2 things about this. Number 1, note the lack of mechanization that comes from their bench, right? What is my incentive to slow down just because my judges are all citizens? If I say hard, complicated words like Genesis and look smart when I'm saying it and talk in this voice, they're gonna get convinced. They don't know what I'm saying. They just think I sound smart, that I look smart, and that I'm making correct arguments. The implication then is that me learning to convince somebody is contingent on their bench being able to prove to you that I have an incentive to slow down. Not true. But secondly, on the flip, judges care about rhetoric uniquely when they know what the word rhetoric means. That Mitsushi's lecture, Kawano-sensei giving me feedback, or Sena-senpai critiquing me, that is how I improved my rhetoric. Not because somebody that walked by my debate told me, damn, you sound stupid. Third clash, on opt-in. Note firstly that this argumentation on opt-in and increased opt-in from the masses is premised on the debate being fun. If it wasn't fun, no matter how much the media covers it, nobody cares. But secondly, do you guys really think, that Naki has good rhetoric, right? But even if I show my classmates that, and I showed my friend his speech, she watched for 10 seconds before she gave up. Just debating isn't interesting. And the only way we can change this is through structural change that doesn't come in the form of judges. Changing judges has nothing to do with increased opt-in. So, because we preserve how fun debate is, because we let you guys have fun, because we let proposition have fun, and because we had fun and I had fun, oppose.
Thank leader of opposition reply speech. Now I'd like to welcome the Prime Minister reply speech. Please deliver the speech within 5 minutes here.
Can I be heard? My voice is so dead. All right. Our teacher once said, they speak too fast and they call it a debate. The ability of debaters to speak too fast, to cram so much content is tremendous, and we attempt to fix the dynamics of debate on our side of the house. I want to chat about two things. One, on fun, and two, on learning. So firstly, let me respond to your motivation argument that came from WHIP. Obviously, now, people will be motivated, debaters will be motivated to persuade the average readable person, because flipping their own metric, they say individuals want to win, individuals want victory. Unclear to me why motivation will decrease on our side of the house. I want to firstly look at the strategic error of side opposition. It was their concession of how different people have different ways of having fun. That was exactly our point, right? We tell you, interaction with friends, interaction with rivals, discussion, or getting meals, for instance. Those things, there are a plethora of ways in which you can have fun. And I think yellow proves this. What does this mean to you? I think this debate is a value motion, which means that this is an objective motion. You see this debate from an objective point of view. So even if this gets less fun on their side of the house, it's unclear to me how much less fun it becomes. Because I think individuals, multiple people have different ways of actually having fun. Even if Seiji gets less fun, it's unclear to me how the vast majority of individuals will get fun in this debate. So sure, DLL says, well, maybe we don't do hobby for society, but our point is that even if that is likely to be the case, if this is objectively better, we think we win this debate. But even if this gets less fun, I think their argumentation, even taking them out their best, was that it gets less fun, right? So we think we concede, and we have the consensus in this debate. The debate, to some extent, will be fun. And our argumentation was that we increase the participation through different mechanisms, and therefore we flip their value metric. More individuals will experience the fun experiences, which is why we also win on this clash. Second clash on learning. Our stance was simple. We unfortunately live in a dystopian society where individuals have subconscious biases, individuals are not smart, and that on our side of the house, we aim to fix that dynamics insofar as debaters will now be incentivized to actually persuading the general public. Seiji comes up here and says, if I say Genesis, then people will be persuasive, but that's actually too simplistic, right? The reason why Trump uses easy words is that they can actually cater to the vast majority of people. And I think individuals are going to be changing their incentive to use easier words, to actually use better words so that they can actually make the average person understand. Under this learning clash, I want to do three things. One, look at our third argument on how randomly selected citizens can at least learn, which is unresponded to. Secondly, on our second argument with media, finally, a uniqueness. Firstly, we tell you in our third argumentation that randomly selected citizens can at least learn. We tell you that these individuals, that they can be exposed to a diverse range of topics. There was no response from their side of the house, and therefore I think we should credit this. So I think those individuals, not pro judges, will now be able to learn a lot of diverse topics, which I think got zero response from their side of the house. The second argument we gave was about media. They say it's less fun than Clash Royale. Two responses. One, it doesn't have to be, right? People can do multiple things. Even if they want want to do Clash Royale, they can still look TV at the there's other time. But secondly, debate is fun. This is why American president debate exists. This is why in Abema TV, for example, there exists debate. The point is, it's understandable and it's entertaining on our side of the house. It was a massive assertion for them to say the debate is entirely not fun. We think it is fun. Finally, the uniqueness of learning. They only say, well, there's no capacity, but you can still do ask janitors, right? But the capacity doesn't prove the incentive, right? No, obviously, how many debaters are going to ask janitors to literally do this? We think this is non-existent in this debate. But finally, we tell you that they say you can just change the rules, right? But they never give you examples of how to change the rule. It's unclear to me why this is going to be a negative point in this debate. We weigh to you why learning is more important from WHIP. For all those reasons, prop.
Thank the Prime Minister reply, please. The grand final is over. Thank you for wonderful debate. Here. So judges, let's go to the judge room.
ジャッジの皆さんはジャッジルームにお願いいたします。
トロフィーで。